All right. I went ahead and hit record because I think we have enough people in. I have now had this confirmation that people did see the new Zoom link. And anybody who comes in after the fact, I mean, like I was mentioning earlier, this will all be recorded. I'm recording now. So um, you can study this later. If there's any rhythms or something that an explanation you want to revisit, or John, you were saying you have to leave early, it'll be easy just to access the video. So welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us. If I haven't met you yet, my name is Isaac. Glad to have you guys here. And because I know that Ian was telling some of his students about this, and so we have some folks that are new to me that I haven't met, but we appreciate you being here. And I was really curious as well how many people of my students knew about Ian already. I know he's becoming more popular in the American mandolin world. I think generally speaking, people in the American mandolin scene are becoming a little more hip to Brazilian music and all the Brazilian mandolin tradition. So Ian, I met him 3 years ago when he just finished studying, doing his bachelor's at Berkeley College of Music, and we met a couple of years ago and hit it off immediately. Really, we jammed and had a great time. It was actually our buddy Jason Anick who teaches at Berkeley. He was going to give Ian a lesson. I guess that semester Ian was taking lessons with Jason, and now they work together. They perform together. But I was connecting with Jason. It had been a while since I'd seen him, and he said, "Hey, you should come to my office, my teaching space at this time because there's this guy from Brazil who you would love to meet." So I'm very thankful to Jason for making the connection and introducing us. And we've been staying in touch for the last couple of years, and we did a video for my YouTube channel, and I've enjoyed seeing stuff that Ian has been doing, and we've been talking this whole time. We I think it happened like when we met, we said, "Man, we should do some kind of project together." So we've kept that conversation going for a while. And now finally he just finished, like I said, he's on summer break, finished doing his master's. And right now I have kind of a weird period. My family is out of the country. They're visiting family back in Colombia, where my wife is from. And I couldn't be in Colombia all summer because I need to work and do stuff. So I'm have a little bit of time without my family. And I got in touch with Ian and said, "Hey, are we still thinking maybe this summer we want to do some kind of project?" So he flew to Nashville. He's at my house right now. He's sitting across from me in my kitchen. And we have been rehearsing music. We've been started this conversation about a month ago and started sending each other recordings. And on Monday, we are going to go to the studio and record a duo mandolin project. And we've got three of his original compositions, like super awesome tunes and compositions. And then we're doing three of my compositions, and we have four covers. We're doing a jazz tune, All the Things You Are, and we have been working up a Stevie Wonder tune, this tune called I Just Called to Say I Love You. Super fun stuff to explore and work on. But anyway, so that's kind of setting the stage for, why Ian is here visiting me in Nashville. And it had been quite a while since I had done one of these workshops. Um, and so I thought it was a great opportunity to really kind of get some kind of awareness, starting to tell people that we're working together, we're doing this project, but it was really a great opportunity to, you guys are supporting us and we really appreciate you. And so the idea of this workshop, we are going to be talking about Latin rhythms. And so the things that I'm going to share today are things that I've been working on over the past several years, really probably the past 10 years. And it's been a process. I remember when I first started trying to play Caribbean music, Cuban music, or basically these things like between Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Cuba, there's a lot of overlap. And I'll talk a little bit about what I mean there. But when I first started trying to play the stuff, it was so foreign. It was so different. It's unlike if you're coming from an American music background, even if it's just jazz and like the bluegrass and fiddle tune stuff that I grew up with, Um, this the Afro-Cuban, different Caribbean rhythms can be so foreign, and I hope to give you guys some insight, kind of uh, tell you about my journey learning these things and kind of some of the breakthroughs that I've had. Um, so I sent a PDF that was, the when you registered for the workshop on my website, you got a PDF. And so those materials, that's what I'm going to be teaching about, really focusing on the Cuban stuff on page 3 or 4. And then for the second half of the workshop, I'm going to let Ian teach all about the Brazilian stuff. And if you saw the email, he prepared a couple pages with those rhythms written out. And so we'll jump into it. Basically, so Cuba is super important in the music world. Cuban music has been exported all over. People listen to Cuban music around the world. And if you're not familiar with like what there's a lot of different styles in Cuba, but I would say the biggest access point that we have or for these types of rhythms and stuff is salsa music. Now, salsa, I learned uh, salsa was actually created or combined, and it just evolved. It came about in New York City, which was very surprising to me because salsa, you think if you've ever heard salsa, you're like, well, yeah, that's just a very typical, that's like straight from the islands. That's true. But as a genre, salsa really came about in New York City, but it was because of the Puerto Rican and Cuban immigrants, the high population ever since like the early 20th century, 1940s, so much immigration from Puerto Rico and Cuba and other places. These days, actually, I learned there's more Dominican people now in New York City than there are Puerto Rican people. But historically, I mean, you can think of something like West Side Story or something. It's Puerto Rican culture in New York City is iconic. And the same with Cuba, Cuban immigration. So what happened was all of these musicians and people that brought their culture to New York City, they were, continuing to play and thrive. And then this combination happened, these influences. So when salsa comes about, really like in the early 70s, that was heavily influenced by like disco music and horns and big bands. And so now when you think about that and you hear, if you listen to like some of the classic beginning salsa recordings, you can start to hear what I mean by that because they're the older stuff. So what salsa is based on, the core rhythm that's happening with clave, we'll talk about clave. It's called son cubano, son. So son is a Spanish word that it's like an old word that meant like sound. Um, and so son cubano, this is a genre and it's just like the Cuban son. So that rhythm goes back to, I'm not exactly a historian on this, but I would say things like that started coming about like at the end of the 1800s, probably like the very beginning of the 20th century is when, or at least that we know of, you know, when that stuff is, recorded or just what we've been able to keep track of. But the music culture goes back centuries because of slavery and the people that came from Africa, right? So the drumming and percussion and rhythm music culture is coming from Africa, and that's true. Which you'll hear some of this stuff when Ian is talking about Brazilian music. That's true all over the place, right? Um, and so clave, which is this super old basically the basis for these rhythms. That's what the first thing I put on this in this PDF for the Cuban rhythms. Uh, if you've ever heard clave or like heard the name clave, uh, this will, inform your understanding of what's going on in the music, now moving forward. Clave is basically a 2-bar rhythm pattern that there's another term, like the same term, clave, is also, it not only means the rhythm, but it also means it's like a little wood percussion instrument, like two wood sticks that historically that's what would also play that rhythm, right? But so what's written here, when you can either have 2/3 clave or 3/2 because it's a two bar phrase. And with those two bars, you can have one of them first, and then on another song, you can just flip it around and you have like the second half first. So sometimes, like, I've heard people say, or they ask, like, if one is more common than the other. And I think they're kind of equally common, equally occurring. It's not that one is like more standard than the other. But if I had to say, I kind of feel like I run into 2/3 clave a little more. But check this out. So this is the rhythm. So if it's like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, bump, 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 2, 3, 1, and 4, 2, 3, 1, and 4. And then if you flip that around, 3/2 would be 1, and 4, 2, 3, ba, 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 ba. And sometimes if you do it really slow, like if you're learning this, it's kind of hard to keep track of it. But if you speed it up, it's actually easier to kind of like hear the rhythm as it happens faster. You can kind of catch on to it easier. Ba, 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 ba. So that rhythm is, like I said, it's kind of the basis of the like underlying foundation or pattern that son cubano is built on. And there's another one that I included here because my understanding is that in modern, well, yeah, probably all over the place, like historically, but also in modern Cuban music, there's another style of music called timba, which is, all those people that stayed on the island that did not come to New York, so music went that direction in the United States, and then that salsa came about. The people who stayed on the island kept playing and kept evolving, and the music culture kept evolving, and but with less outside influence. And uh, politically, basically the isolation that happened, becoming a communist country and the revolution. So basically from like, the 60s and on, there was a lot more isolation, and it's harder for Cuban people to leave or come back freely. But anyway, so Cuban music today has gone different directions. But one of the coolest things, like if you guys are interested, you should definitely check out. I can also send some links maybe later on. Some of my favorite Cuban artists. But the genre that is basically like salsa, but they call it timba. And timba is very like aggressive. It's very like intense or like amped up version of salsa. So, but anyway, the other rhythm that I included, like another type of clave, they call it's the rumba clave. And so the difference is very slight. So on the first measure, let's say if it's 3/2, on the first measure, the beat the third hit. Oh, that's what I forgot to mention an important detail. The reason why they call it 2/3 or 3/2 is what the numbers are referring to is that in the first, if it's 2/3, in the first measure, there's two hits. And then in the second measure, there's three hits. That's what 2/3 or 3/2 is referring to. So 3/2 clave in the first measure, oh, so 3/2 rumba clave in the first measure, you've got three hits. On the third hit, instead of being a quarter note on beat 4, it's an eighth note. So that's like if you've got like regular old 3/2 clave, bump, 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 1, and 4, 2, 3. Rumba clave would be like 1, and 2, 3, 1, and 2, 3. So it just gives it this extra, like when you manipulate the quarter note on 4 or make it an eighth note on the 4 and, it gives it just this little change, and it kind of changes the character. Okay, so when you guys hear Cuban music, you're most likely going to be hearing there's of all the different things that could be the instrumentation that could be happening, you're most likely going to hear the congas. In Spanish, you'd say conga, the conga. So Typically you can have, I would say two congas is the standard setup, but you can have more because they come in different sizes and basically it affects the pitch. There's a deeper one. So a pair of congas is going to have you've got a deeper one and then the little higher pitched one. And I wrote it here. I'm not a conga player, but I researched this and listened to it, and I tried to write out my own interpretation of just kind of giving you a little hint, a little insight to what's going on there. That's probably not like the legit percussion notation, but what I did was I put like a couple different symbols where on notice that on beat four and it just looks like a regular old eighth note on both measures. And the reason why I notated it that way is because that is an open tone. So the first thing I would say about a conga tumbao and tumbao basically means pattern. It's a pattern. So we'll clarify some of those terms that I've learned that tumbao, a lot of instruments can play tumbao because it's like you can play a pattern on like any instrument. So what I do on mandolin, I play tumbao. And the bass also plays tumbao. It's just, they have a different role, so they have a different pattern, but that's what that word means. So the interesting thing about the conga tumbao, this was very helpful when I realized this and started getting deeper and trying to play with the rhythm. They are playing on every eighth note. One and two and three and four and da 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 do 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 boom boom do 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 boom boom. And so on four and they've got there's some different hits going on, but that's where you can hear that those deeper open tones boom boom on four and. So it's like one two three boom boom one two three boom boom one and two and three and four and one and two and three and boom boom one and two and three and boom boom. That characteristic in the rhythm is a big identifier. So for you're coming into this like there's a lot of moving rhythms and a lot of things going on. If you can hear that when the congas go one and two and three and boom boom, one and two and three and boom boom, that helps you establish where one is. Now the confusing thing is you oftentimes don't play on one. I know that's you may have heard that or discovered that already with like different types of Latin music. That's what gives it that characteristic that oftentimes sounds like Latin. It's not so straightforward. It's not like you're hitting one on every, like think about all the like country music, bluegrass, or whatever, pop music, so many things. It's just you can really count on it being on the beat. There's a one and three and one. So this stuff gets syncopated and it pushes and pulls. So it can be very helpful to know what some of the other instruments are doing, and it helps you identify where the beat is. Even if you're trying to do something different, you have an understanding of what you're hitting. Okay, the next thing I put on the handout was the bass tumbao. So this was the hardest part for me. I remember the first time I got up on stage with my friend Edwin Garcia back in Tulsa. He grew up playing salsa music. His parents, all of his grandparents are Puerto Rican, and his parents were New Yorican, so they were the first generation to be. The grandparents all moved to New York, and then his parents were both born in New York City and then met there. And then Edwin was also born in New York City, but his dad got a job with American Airlines when he was like 3 years old. So they moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma. So that's how I got to meet Edwin. Later on, we got, really it was after I went to college and came back home. We became really good friends and started working together a lot. But Edwin, I remember the first time he invited me to play with his band Mezclave in Tulsa because he knows. I mean, at that point we've been playing gigs, and he knew that I liked Latin rhythms, but we played a lot of jazz together. And so he was like, "Yeah, man, just get up on stage and just you don't even need to know the song. You just sit in, you just like listen, and then maybe play a solo." Oh my God, that was one of the hardest, most terrifying musical experiences because like the first time trying to really play a salsa groove and I don't even know what's going on. And every time it's like every measure, something's happening that's throwing me off. Just when I think that I'm gonna be able to play and like, okay, I'm anticipating what's gonna happen, then I get thrown off again. And so the bass part, to me, if you can latch on to this bass role in salsa music, that is going to be what's going to open the door for you. And if because you have to groove with the bass, because if the bass is so essential, like it is in every style of music, right? If the bass is doing something where they're hitting on the and of two, or they're hitting on four, every measure or every other measure, that's essential to the groove, right? So if you're doing something where you're just coming into it with like your typical, like this is how I go, da 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 da, or something. If the bass, let's say you're thinking, oh, I'm going to hit on one, like you're anticipating it, and you're going to hit on one, and then like right before you do that, the bass hits on four. It throws you off of your equilibrium and like your whole, you're not grooving. And if you're doing something that's like, the bass has got a groove, and then you're kind of hitting like on either side of it, that's you're not grooving, right? So you have to be grooving with the bass. So a bass tumbao, I'll tell you guys about a couple different patterns, but the typical pattern tumbao that the bass is going to do, I wrote it here. This is written in treble clef, so you can just see that it's like a C major arpeggio, 1 5 1 octave. So the rhythm is the same, like the very first bar is the same as the three side of clave. So remember clave, uh, 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 1 and 4 2 3. So the bass is doing that. That's the first bar that is written there. But then the second bar, it kind of does the same thing, hits on the end of two, but it's tied. Four ties into the next measure. So that's, see right there, you've hit on four, and now you're avoiding the one. So landing on four is essential to this type of groove. And then the congas are playing on one because they're playing every beat. But the fact that you're tying on four and then hitting on the end of two of the next measure and then hitting on four again. So that's the rhythm that can just be like on a loop. So this would be like, so 1 2 1 2 3 4.
We can't hear your mandolin.
Can't hear it at all?
Yeah, you might need to put on your original sound for musicians at the
Oh, you know
top.
what? I did, but then it must have got marked off. Original sound for. Okay, I marked that earlier. Thank you guys for telling me. I made a point to open up settings and mark that, but I don't know what happened. So
It worked
let's try
really
that
well,
again.
doesn't it?
Yeah, it works really. Yeah, it's really suppressing that background nuisance right there. Okay, check this out. This is the bass tumbao pattern. 1 2 1 2 3 4. Maybe I'll change chords. Um, that right there, like you're not going to be doing that when you play a salsa song, but that is super essential to understanding, to being able to participate with the music. Um, so when you're listening to Latin music, if it's like son montuno, son cubano, these are kind of overlapping styles. I'll kind of clarify what some of these terms mean, but son is the rhythm, and so son cubano is like the genre that's built on that rhythm. That is super typical. That's what the bass is going to be doing. Now, what happens is, what I wrote here is just vamping on one chord, on C chord. So if they're vamping, that's exactly what is going to happen. What comes about is like a song is going to go to different chord changes. So when they change chords, they could basically when they're gonna, let's say that halfway through, like on bar 3, it needs to go to a G chord. So you're starting like C for 2 bars. Oh shit. So what I did to go to G, I have to play that on the 4 of the previous measure. That's what's really interesting. It's like, even though it kind of blurs the lines of, well, this thing is supposed to happen on the next bar, but that'd be like a very American kind of like, way of thinking about things. Because if the chord on, say, like bar 3, so you're hitting, that bass note is hitting on 4 still. So that would mean that really the chord, the harmony that's going to happen in bar 3 really is happening. It's starting on at the end of bar 2 on that 4, that hit on beat 4. So another thing that happens is, well, if you notice here, the way I wrote this out, the very end of the 4th bar, there it hits on 4, but it's not tied. Because the other thing that the bass can do, even though I would say it's typical that they can tie on 4 over to the next measure, oftentimes they can just choose to play on 1 also. And because you could start the pattern over, maybe like. So there, on every other bar, I didn't tie it. And really, it's a combination of those things. It kind of depends on the song, but really at any point that they want to do it that way, they can play on 1. But I would say that type of approach where the bass would hit on 1 on the first measure of a pair. Remember, clave, we were talking about, it's a 2-bar phrase. So really, my understanding is that if the bass is going to hit on 1 of the first measure, then that lines up with 2-3 clave. So if it's 3-2 clave, then they would hit on beat 1 of the second measure in a pair. But I wouldn't say you have to concern yourself too much about that right now, but we'll move on. Okay, so originally, like in early Cuban music, a very traditional instrument is the tres, but if you say it more with like a Spanish accent, it's tres, the tres, Tres. And that instrument has 6 strings that are kind of like the mandolin because they're in pairs. But the role of the tres, it's like a type of guitar with a different tuning and different, the pairs of strings. That was the original instrument that was playing the harmony, the chords, the accompaniment, and this early style son cubano. And so, later, like if you've heard Latin music and Afro-Caribbean, Afro-Cuban, son cubano, salsa, the piano plays a really big role. But in the beginning, they didn't have a piano. And son montuno, which is also, that term really is referring to, it's like that Cuban son from the mountains. It's rural, but that's where this music was evolving and taking place, and the tres was a lot easier to carry around, just like folk instruments. The piano is giant and it's not easily, movable, transportable. So the tres, I'm going to play you guys this for the son cubano, this rhythm right here. This is what the tres would play, like the basis for accompaniment, because they're not really playing chords. What they're doing is when they do tumbao, they're arpeggiating. So this is what this classic son tumbao line is like. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. I know this sounds almost, it's so typical, it sounds kind of stereotypical. It sounds very classic, that line. And the cool thing, you see how the note selection, it's an arpeggio, but then it has an E in it, which gives it that that G6 sound, which if you've studied or played much jazz, like jazz and swing music, and I'm sure this is the case in Brazilian music and a lot of things too. We'll ask Ian later. That G6 sound is like the default sound. It's got these jazz tones, like kind of the basis of jazz harmony. It's you're not just playing a normal G chord, but even in, swing music and stuff like that. If it's Western swing or swing and jazz, when you're in a major key like G major, it's oftentimes it's going to be a G6, meaning you have that sixth tone of the scale, that E, just as your default harmonic palette. So instead of playing like a G6 chord, they're playing each note in sequence. So it gives it's like an arpeggio played in sequence. It gives you the impression that that's the chord that's being played. So this one, and the interesting thing about this rhythm, I kind of discovered that the eighth note feel for playing styles like this is, if you're reading this, you can just play this very straight. Ba 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 ba, and then the syncopation with the tied notes and playing on and is what, like, bigger picture, that's what's giving you this syncopated groove, where the groove is coming from. But there's no, I think sometimes people, when they're approaching this music, they're new to Latin music and they're trying to figure it out, they try to put too much kind of swing in the individual eighth note phrasing. But my recommendation is that for now, just try to play it as straight as possible. Just real straight, real even on the delivery of eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And if you think about, I think all the instruments tend to be straighter in the interpretation. And it's like I said, the bigger picture is when it's like where you're tying notes that creates that syncopated feel. But just real straight, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... So I'm playing it kind of slow, just for the purposes of introducing this to you. But think about this: what if the song is like? That's, to me, like speeding it up. Then I kind of feel like, oh, I can really groove on it more. I included something here that, look below where it says classic son tumbao. We're on page 5. And so the next thing, it's the same thing written out with some little arrows. What I'm trying to show here is that, and then the next thing below that is the example of clave, 2-3 clave written out. My understanding is that when I've talked to people about this style of music, remember we were talking about the bass hitting on 1, that they can, basically, if they're going to hit on 1, they're not going to do that every measure necessarily. That sometimes they can, but the classic tumbao feel hits on 1 and then it ties on 4, so that the second measure is not hitting on 1. That lines up with a 2-3 clave. And so this example, this classic son tumbao, this pattern really corresponds to a 2-3 clave, because we are hitting on 1, just like the bass. Then and you see it goes 1, 2, and. So we're also hitting on 2. And that lines up with where clave, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, So we're going 1, 2, and. So we're hitting on 2. like clave does. But then in the second measure, we are hitting on the and of two, just like clave does on the three side of clave. So another thing to keep in mind is we were talking about how the bass hits on four. So if that same bass pattern that they're hitting on four and we're hitting on four but we really are lining up more with the congas. Because remember how we talked about how they're going one and two and one and two and three and four and that deep four end. That's what we're hitting on four, and it's like accenting the same thing that they do. Okay, now I'm going to show you guys kind of some things I've adapted, and we're going to from there we're going to talk about like different patterns you can do in this style, because not all of Cuban music, or this is a very traditional kind of historic, classic, older sound. But that as like a rhythm basis, we're going to do some different things with it and play on some different chord changes. But I want to show you guys what I do, what I've kind of came up with my own mandolin interpretation of tumbao. So this is the thing at the bottom of page 5. This is my kind of rhythm tumbao, my groove that I have, that I do, and I'll show you I can do it on different chord changes. So check this out. It'd be like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see that I am, on the first measure, I'm hitting on the and of 4, just like the previous example, the classic son tres line. But then I'm hitting on 4 on the second measure, beat 4, just like the bass, and that sets you up to start over. So I'm not tying that, but I'm hitting 4 and then ready to hit on beat 1 again. So like that pattern lines up in the same way, like we were talking about 2-3 clave, where I'm hitting on the 1 of the first measure. So I'll play it slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. And make sure and notice that I marked the pick stroke directions, because to me this is very down, up, down, up. The way I do this, I'm drawing on kind of the same tradition that from playing fiddle tunes, where I am placing the front side of the beat, I'm doing a downstroke, and then if it's on the and, like the second eighth note in an eighth note pair, I'm doing an upstroke. So to me, that whole system of playing and thinking lines up. It works really well for this type of thing. And for me, for my thinking and the way I feel it, I like playing those upstrokes when it's on the and, like I was saying, because it helps me just kind of keep it straight in my own way of playing and feeling it. So here's what this rhythm sounds like a little bit faster. Let's say it's like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Another thing is that you'll notice that I'm hitting this open D string in both measures. That's on the and of 2, and that lines up with the bass. So really, if the bass was like, they might typically have more notes, like, or maybe. That D note lines up perfectly with the bass. So we get a lot of synchronicity with the congas, how I'm playing on 4 and 4 and I'm also hitting on the and of 2, which lines up with the bass in both measures. And there, I'm actually at the I do some variations. Like let's say that's my default pattern, but sometimes at the end, instead of going like just hitting on four, like four, let me see, I'll change it up a little bit. Maybe there I'm going one, four and like three, four and, or maybe I'll go like there. I can play kind of less notes, tie more frequently, just like the classic son tumbao, the trace pattern. Remember? I'll do the trace pattern and then I'll play my pattern, and I'm going to start blending these things and see if you can notice the difference. Here's the tres. Mine. There, I'm doing the same notes as my pattern, but I'm putting more tied notes in the second half of it. So I'm keeping the same groove going. I'm just choosing sometimes to play less notes. So I'll do the full kind of like notey one, more eighth notes, and then I'll do the one that's got more of like the hitting on the and tying, like the classic one. Like I'm really exaggerating that one. See, this is me doing like tons of tied notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the same pattern, the picking pattern that I'm doing. Like here's the classic sound with the E note. Now I'm taking out the E note and I'm just going. What I'm doing is I'm playing a B instead. So I'm just like bouncing up with that arpeggio. Now, listen to my pattern again. So both of those are completely compatible. If you got somebody else who's playing this, so they completely work interlocking, just like the congas and the bass and all the percussion instruments. And so when you join in, you're hitting in all of the right places. You know, hitting on one and then avoiding one. You're hitting on the end of two. Check this out. That same pattern. This. I'm just going to do some different chord changes now. Watch this. Or here's like a different shape. Any arpeggio shape, you can do the same thing. So that was G here on the D and A strings, right? G and a B note. Now I'll play it down here. So I'm just kind of improvising, just going to like a B7 to an E minor, A7, D. The pattern that I've written here, I'm calling it my mandolin tumbao because I feel like, I'm like the only mandolin player to play that exact set of notes, that rhythm. Um, if you get that under your fingers, just practice it in one key, then move it around. Like, here's another idea. What if I take that same pattern like this? Now, I'm going to take those same fingers that are on those two strings and just slide up. Now go to an A and a C note like this. But I have to add in something else because I can't have that open D anymore. So there's some other ways you can maybe compensate. Like a lot of times I'll play those two notes and put an E there because that's the fifth of A. So maybe. So G chord, A minor, D7. There, I know this is getting more complex. I'm doing the same exact pattern, but I'm playing around with the notes, and every time it hits this, the and of 2 and the and of 4, I was just alternating. I was just walking down. There's actually, on the next page, I've included a pattern that does that same type of thing. So we'll look at that, and that's written out at the bottom of page 6, but we'll get there. Okay, so going to page 6, this pattern, here's like another example that follows the same rhythm. Remember? Da, ba, 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 ba. That's our classic son tumbao. Now, this term son montuno, I mentioned a little bit ago that it's kind of a little different meaning. Son montuno is it's a genre as well. It's like a sub-genre of what we're talking about, but it's really like the same thing. It's just a very specific term because when that early music where they're doing that type of sound, there got to a certain point where there was an artist, I want to say this was in the 1940s, but Arsenio Rodriguez, basically kind of, it's kind of like the same time that somebody like Bill Monroe is becoming well known for doing bluegrass. Like you got an artist that gets attention, they get well known, and then they like kind of coin a term or it's like that style gets called a specific thing. And my understanding about this subgenre son montuno, it really is referring to this type of chord progression. We've got the same rhythm, ba ba boom, ba 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 boom, ba. But look what's written here. So going from C to F, G, F, just 1, 4, 5, 4. So this pattern that's written here. So now in 2 bars, we've traveled through these different chord changes, and it's because of the note selection. It's creating that, I wasn't playing like the chords when I played the single notes, but it gives you that impression. You can hear that it goes to those different chord changes because it arpeggiates. There's your C. It's like an F6 chord, and then G, F, and then back to C. This is son cubano. It's the same stuff. It's just this type of thing got coined that term like son montuno from a certain time period. But it's the same stuff. It's just like more chords on the same pattern. So look what I'm doing. I'm playing the bass part, but instead of playing, right, that's just arpeggiating. That was the example that we looked at, where it's just arpeggiating like the 1, 5, 1, 5, 1. Now I'm going 1, 4, 5, 4, 1. That's what's written. So that's a really cool sound. I mean, that just sounds fun. It sounds like you're in Cuba, you know what I mean? Um, okay, so the next example that I've got here for you guys is this is another pattern. This is not following necessarily, it's not the classic son lick pattern that, we looked, this one was the first one. This one is more like, this is the same rhythmically. It's the same as my version, my mandolin tumbao. Is it? Yeah, because it ties on. Okay, no, it's slightly different. I mean, they're overlapping. They're so compatible. Mine doesn't tie quite as often. This one that we're going to look at is from El Cuarto de Tula, which is a really classic recording by the Buena Vista Social Club, which is probably the most famous album from that. That it's just your super typical son cubano genre, and this rhythm that's written out. Here's what it sounds like, but it's really just in between both. It's compatible with everything we've looked at rhythmically. It's just that because it's going let's see. There I threw in Bob like another. I played on 4 and 4 and. That's by playing on 4 and 4 and, because this one is tied on the and of 3 to 4, which is more like it's tying more frequently, right? Whereas my thing, which was I play on 4 and 4 and. Now this one is more like the classic one because it's tying on the and of 3 to 4. So it's. But see, if I made it exactly the same rhythm as the classic first example, it would be like. There's 1, 2, in. So this one's a little bit more like mine. It's got da 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 da. It's got a little bit more notes in it, but it's tying in those important places like and of 2, and of 4, and of 2, and then it hits on 4 again. You could speed it up. I like doing that. To me, I like that flavor, like the original. I like playing on 4, taking out the tie on the and of 3, and playing. So on 4, the 8th note pair on the first measure, you've got a G and an A on beat 4 and 4 and. If you make 4, like the front side of 4, make it an A. So you've got 2 A notes. So it'd be like. There, 4 and 4 and. I like that sound a lot too. Like I said, you can hear the instruments, the stringed instruments on the Buena Vista Social Club. I think they're playing the laúd. There's a really famous Cuban player. His name's Barbarito Torres, and he plays the laúd, which the translation there, it's Laud. And it's like the Spanish word for lute. But that instrument is surprisingly similar to the mandolin because it's tuned in fifths. And so it has kind of a similar sound. And I've listened to some of that music to capture some of these, like this phrase right here. That's pretty sure that's Barbarito playing that. I was inspired by that line. I just learned. I mean, I listened to it and I was like, oh yeah, I hear that. So I just picked it out, and we were working on an arrangement with my wife's band. This was years ago, but we ended up recording this song. It's this classic like rock pop song called Everybody Wants to Rule the World. It's by Tears for Fears. But anyway, we were just at rehearsal, and I was like showing the guys like, hey, look at this. So I took the same riff here, but I made it major, and then I use my fourth finger on D here on the G string on the seventh fret, so I can maintain kind of that sound ring. And then I change notes here. So that is like an A9, like an A7, A9. So here's this version, like this, basically taking this idea and making some different chords out of it. So that's a really fun riff you can do. You can just jam on that. Like if you're playing with somebody, you could just go into that riff and then just take solos. And a lot of this style of music, like the previous example, the Buena Vista Social Club, that part of the song, when they're just doing that riff, that's going back and forth between an A minor, a D minor, and an A. It's like da 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 ba 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 A da 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 da, and they can do that for like 5 minutes. They just keep going. They're doing the coro, the chorus, and then they're doing like pregones, so that people take solos over that same chord progression. That's really common in the salsa format. It's like you finally get to, like when you get to a solo, it's not you're not improvising over the form and the chords of like the verses and stuff. It's like a solo section that's got 2 chords or 4 chords, and it's just a very repetitive kind of droning thing. Okay, I included another example from that same song, El Cuarto de Tula. The way this band, working with my wife and the guys that we've played with in that group, we kind of, sometimes we do this. This will sound very classic to you, but I'll show you kind of what's the idea. We actually did this a minute ago, but I said, oh, I'll show you in a minute because it's written out. And this is in D minor. So this is the bottom of page 6. This is that same type of son cubano rhythm, that pattern like that I was showing you, kind of like my tumbao, but I'm now on the end of 2 and the end of 4 in every measure. I'm descending, walking down this, like if you play a D minor I'm putting my third finger on the 7th fret of the G string. That's a D, right? And then an F to make this with an open A. Like I use that D minor shape all the time. So that double stop is right there, D and F. So this is what this pattern is. I'll just play you what it sounds like. So I'm sure if you guys had heard this before all the things we talked about in this workshop so far, you would have heard that and thought, yep, that sounds like Latin music. Or maybe you're thinking, yep, sounds like Cuban music. That type of phrase is used all over the place. But now I hope you see kind of where it's coming from, because like this example is very similar to the previous examples. It's hitting on the end of 2 and the end of 4 in every bar, and that lines up with clave. It lines up with the conga pattern, and then actually this is a 4-bar phrase because it's the same pattern just being repeated. It's like a 2-bar phrase, but this chord progression is 4 bars. The end of it, I put a quarter note on 4. So 4. So that is kind of resetting to start on 1 again. And you don't have to play that necessarily, but that also lines up with the bass, that hitting that quarter note at the end of the on beat 4 of the fourth measure. So that, I know you guys have heard that type of minor chord descending with like the major 7, the dominant 7, the 6th. That exact pattern right there, is a very typical classic type of phrase. And even see if I made it a little simpler, because there I've got lots of notes. Da 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 da. Starts out with 4/8 notes right off the bat. But you could just do it like. That's more kind of what the bass does, because they're playing less notes. Actually, and the bass wouldn't even be hitting that top note. They'd just be like. So you can see I'm adding in now, building from like the bass phrasing, make it a little bit more complicated. I add in that F note. Now if I make it even busier, even more stuff going. I'll show you guys a different one that's not included on here, but another example of a very similar, basically the same chord progression. There's a really classic song, a really famous song by Gloria Estefan called Mi Tierra. So if you look it up on YouTube, it's got millions and millions of views, and it's a really famous recording. But when they get to like the jam section of that song does a lot of cool, interesting things. It's not, it kind of has a blend of styles, but there's a very similar chord progression that it's basically like you're doing that 1 minor chord for a couple bars, and then the G minor, that 4 minor, that another way of looking at that chord, like a very similar, closely related chord, you could say it's E minor 7 flat 5, which is the 2 minor, but following the same scale harmony of the minor key. It would be a flat 5, because it's for the same reason like a G minor has a B flat in it, which is just the minor third of a G minor chord. So another way to say an E minor 7 flat 5, that B flat note, that's the flat 5 in the E minor. I know it sounds intimidating. Flat 5s took me a while to understand, but an E minor 7 flat 5 chord is actually the same thing as a G minor 6, so a G minor chord with a 6 in it, which just has an E. That's where the E is coming from. And then you could put the E in the bass, and then that gives you the same notes, the same harmony. But check this out. So here's like basically I'm doing like D minor for 2 bars, then I'm doing that 2 half diminished, or the E minor 7 flat 5, to an A7. So here's a different pattern. So what I was doing there, I was just going back and forth between those two ideas to show you how similar they sound. If you were playing a song, you wouldn't go back and forth. You're going to do one or the other, basically. So that's a really fun sound, you know. A couple other, I'll show you guys just some more examples of some uh, patterns you can do, because you could play any chord changes and execute this rhythm, you know what I mean? But basically, let's say that, you know, using my pattern, I'll show you that example, just different chord progressions you can do. Uh, I'm going to do this one from one of my favorite Cuban bands. This chord progression, I mean, I'm sure that you can find this chord progression in a lot of songs, but to me, it's inspired by this group, Habana de Primera. And so I'm going from a C minor to an A flat major 7, then to a B flat chord, and then G7. So check this out. I'm doing my, remember the example that I had in here, which is, make that minor, okay? The B becomes a B flat. Now, to do this specific chord progression that I'm going to show you, take that same fingering, the same idea, just go over to C minor, make it down here. So now the chords I'm going to do are C minor, I'm adding this A flat note, that's my A flat chord. Now, so here's the first two bars, or the first two chords. Now, I'm going to go B flat, just take that same thing and go up a whole step. And then, for the last chord change, playing a G chord, like a G7, I'm not playing the 7th, but this arpeggio, we can just do this one. So, do the same orientation, it's the same pattern, and you've got the D note, and then we got G and B, like this. So here's this chord progression: C minor, A flat major, B flat, G7. You can hear sometimes I throw in these little variations. If I'm really trying to change it up, oh, another thing that I did to change it up was, like, when I play this B flat, I like throwing in the octave here. I'm going to play this pattern, and I'm going to throw in some variations just to kind of groove and show you some possibilities. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. this brought something up as I was kind of thinking, oh, how would I normally play? And just kind of following some ideas. That I started doing this thing where I played chords because I was keeping the groove going, but I stopped my tumbao pattern and I just started playing chord, 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 right? So maybe, and then I just was playing different voicings, but here's how I can keep that groove going, and it's a nice effect to change it up. So you guys can explore that, but really the entry point, I recommend taking these same patterns. Like what if I did the first classic son tumbao like this? Remember the, so I'm in C now, but I'll make that minor. So to me, it's a little bit harder to make that work because the other one's so great because it's a very specific group of notes that makes that G6 chord. This one I was trying to do the same rhythm and kind of like walking around, moving around. But my pattern is kind of more like what a piano might do in a modern sense. And it's just the way it's marking time and hitting on the ands. So you guys can do that with, if you take that pattern. You can play any chord changes. Here's another example. I'm going to play the chords, will be in the key of D, then I'll go to C, so flat 7, then G, and then now A. So here's an example. Actually, and now, like a song that I'm thinking of that I've used this in before, I'm going to change chords faster because what I was doing previously, I was doing 2 bars for every chord. So it really, like, the full pattern is expressed per each chord, whereas now I'm going to move every bar. So kind of in the middle point of each pattern, each 2-bar phrase, you're changing chords. So maybe. So you can see I'm doing different shapes. It's all constructed with arpeggios, right? So we didn't look at this one necessarily before. Like this shape, that's the same as the other ones that we did, just up a whole step, like from C to D, because I'm doing the same type of arpeggio. Back down to the 5. But then when I go to then the C is the same. Now when I go to G, I'm using this one. I'm doing the 3rd, and then so B, and then G above that. And then open G. Then when I play the A, I did this one, which is basically like my C shape, but with my fingers are 4 frets apart. 2, 3. So I've got a C sharp note, and then I'm hitting an A on the bottom. So a lot of times you can just take these inversions of any chord. You can play a different, set of 2 notes to build that arpeggio sound. So Okay, that is a lot of different possibilities you can do with the son cubano salsa. And just to clarify, we were talking at the beginning, I was saying like, oh, salsa is like the most well-known modern kind of music that has become popular. You know, that's like, but the basis of salsa is son cubano. So everything I'm talking about applies to salsa just the same. It's, uh, those patterns, like I was saying, oh, it's like here's a, those two names sometimes, depending on the situation, like if it's son cubano or salsa, can be used interchangeably. Obviously, that son cubano is an older style that predates salsa. And then, but rhythmically, it's like the same rhythm foundation, right? So the tumbao patterns, the montuno style, is perfectly compatible with salsa. It's just that salsa music means a lot more than that because okay, a lot of times a typical salsa band has horns and there's these horn sections, has piano, has this whole vocal part with background singers, and it's like a big thing. Whereas think of like son cubano as just like the folk version of that, historically. So with the time that I have left, oh, and by the way, if you guys have any questions, I haven't checked the chat. Nobody's sent any kind of message on the chat. You guys, any questions you have, please throw those in there. I was going to talk about bolero as well, which is another style that my understanding is that it originates from Cuba, but bolero has kind of a couple different meanings or like contexts, but it's super popular in Mexico. My wife is from Colombia, countries in South America like that, and I'm sure all over Central America. Bolero is kind of like the Latin American ballad, if you will. It's like the slower, romantic type of song, and there's a million boleros, and it's as a genre, it was definitely very popular, and it just continues. It's like a classic style. So what I included here was just to show you guys, imagine this is much slower. Imagine this, the congas, it's not really that syncopated. There is some little, oh, I see a message, lots to digest. Yep. It takes a long time, and you guys don't be intimidated. Just part of it, I mean, falling in love with this music and just not being afraid to just keep working on it. That's been my thing over the years. Just I like it so much that I'm just going to keep working on it. Oh, we had another one. Oh yeah, to clarify, John said son cubano is built around what you're calling classic son tumbao. Yes, I would say that maybe not built on the tumbao. The tumbao is just an element that, well, okay, it just depends what we're saying because the congas play tumbao, the bass plays tumbao. So if we're saying like the classic tumbao, son tumbao, yeah, those are like it's like saying for bluegrass music, oh, the bass goes 1 5 1 5, and the guitar goes boom chick, and the mandolin goes chop chop. Like any one of those things, you could say, oh, that's super characteristic of bluegrass, So what I was describing of like the classic tumbao line, that's the tres instrument. But later, like that same genre as it evolved, the piano came in and started doing that stuff. And that was where like the son montuno subgenre, just kind of further evolution of it. And then Edward has a message here. Is lowest note of the arpeggio on the end of two a good rule of thumb? Oh, yeah. That's the way I'm doing the pattern. But you're saying the lowest note of the arpeggio, but yes, yes, that's how I do the pattern, where the lowest note of whatever group of notes you're playing is on the end of two. But, well, see how we did this one that was like, that one, it's descending, so every time it's getting lower, it's not like jumping around in the same way, but typically, for each of these shapes, this shape, all of these shapes, I'm doing that same pattern and it's the low note on the G string every time that's hitting on the and of 2 and the and of 4. So, good question. But the other thing you have to keep in mind is that you could do an inversion. So, yeah, the lowest note of that group of notes you're playing is on the and of 2, but it doesn't mean that it's like necessarily, it could be kind of any note. For what I've created, this kind of pattern, it could be any note of the arpeggio because you could do inversions. Because I could play G here. This one is really great because it hits on the D alternating, which lines up perfectly harmonically with the bass. But I could also go, maybe I'll do, that's the same as this one. Or all of those things can work kind of interchangeably. I think, yeah, sometimes one sounds better than the other, depending on the circumstance. But yeah, good questions. Yeah. Oh, okay. I was going to give you guys a quick explanation of bolero. Bolero, if I said it, kind of like English speaking way. So think about bolero, slow, ballad, Latin American ballad, romantic. There's lots of boleros, that tradition. It has like, conga or bongo, and could be other percussion instruments, maybe guiro or something like tapping out like a little like simple rhythm, or shaker. There's a big tradition for that style of music, the bolero genre. Just guitars, like you got rhythm guitar, and then like the repique, like the guy who's playing like the licks, in between. So I'm going to show you just this is doesn't require a ton of explanation because it's so much easier in my understanding of you'll hear. So I included here the conga pattern. It's very simple. It's just one bar. So it's bolero isn't operating on clave. Sometimes elements of clave can come into the music, but this is totally different. It's just not dependent on clave and not all revolving around clave. Here's the conga pattern for bolero. It's still 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and maybe slower. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. So you'll see I notated that the and of 3 and the and of 4 are that lower note is where it's like hitting 3 and 4 and boom 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 boom. Typical bass pattern would be like bum 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 bum. Now there's some variation there. In that I know you guys have heard that bass line is not unique to bolero. I think things around the world have used that same type of bass line. But it definitely still sounds Latin, like Latin American. There's definitely can be lots of variation on that. Boom, boom, bum, 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 bum. See how I went for a low note? You can alternate like that, but that rhythm is really what the bass does. Or maybe the eighth note on the and of 2 in the first measure, maybe you take that out and maybe you put that in the second measure sometimes. Bum, 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 bum. So that's a very straight rhythm style. There's not a lot of syncopation happening, and you can just hear in the bass 1 4 or 3 4 1 3 4. It's just so straight. They're not hitting and like tying notes and throwing you off and pushing and pulling. It's really right there. So a strumming pattern. I've put a couple things here, but check this out. Here's the first thing that's written. And you'll hear I'm playing on 1 3 1 3. So this type of comping style, this rhythm style, sounds good even if you're just playing solo mandolin because you're basically imitating or modeling what you're doing, it has a bass note built into it. Like the guitar often does that, where you play the bass note alternating. So and something that I'm doing, I notated it here. I'm doing pretty much all downstrokes. To me, earlier I talked about how I like to have the upstrokes in there. For this type of rhythm, I think it's because it's the speed. I feel really stable and consistent when I play. So I'm going down, down again, down, 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 down. And sometimes I hit my pick on the strings to get like a little backbeat. And really, it's not as much about like making like a sound there, where I'm just trying to keep the beat. So the last rhythm that's there, it looks like this. It's just taking a chord, like a bar C chord, right? C, G, E, like the frets are 5, 5, 7, 8. The tab is written there too. And so there I'm picking through like the first two notes, and then the second two notes of the chord are together. So that's a little bit busier. And the cool thing is, you could also just change it up a little bit and just pick every note, like 1, 2, 3, 4, like individually all through the chord. But that's not even specific to bolero. That's just tons of music does that. But check this out. I can alternate between these patterns. So just to kind of create interest and create variation. So I'm going to do the first strumming pattern, these kind of like not picking through the chord as much, and then I'm going to throw in the picking like this. There, you can literally just every measure go alternating, like down, down, and picking. That is kind of its own pattern. It's just a combination of those two ideas. But so with this, you can experiment with this. You can look up some bolero songs on the internet, on YouTube, find, you can write your own songs. You can play whatever song, the chord progression with this type of rhythm. So here's just some different examples. I'll play some different chords, not just the C chord. So there's some different ideas to play over bolero, and you guys are going to find, like, I didn't have time to include this, or didn't really want to spend time working on this today, but there's other rhythms like danson, cha-cha-cha, a lot of things that is such a straightforward doom chink dum boom bum bum boom bum. It fits with a lot of different styles, even like the times where we're getting ready to explore a lot of this with Ian, and talk about some things that I feel like there's some overlap there. That's just such a straightforward rhythm. You could play like many styles with that. Well, you guys, okay, feel free to submit questions whenever. Let's take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back with Ian. Thank you guys for being here. See you in a minute. Hey guys, is everybody back from our break? I think we've had a little bit more than 5 minutes. I'm going to let Ian go ahead and get started. Please, if you guys. Oh, I'm seeing the comments in the chat box. Cool. Some stuff to listen to. Oh, thanks for doing the links. Hey, good observation. So I'm reading through these comments in the chat box. Edward, that was a nice observation. You heard kind of the pick clicking. I wouldn't say that it's like intentional, but to me that's I am feeling it, and so that I am kind of like touching my pick there, ba 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 ba, and it's making a little noise because that's just how I'm like feeling it. Anyway, it's not. I wouldn't say that's essential to understanding how to do it. I think if you're just following the pattern as it's written, you'll discover stuff like that makes it feel good to you. So I'm gonna let Ian. I'm gonna unpin myself here and pin Ian, and we'll get him going.
Hey guys, how are you doing? All right.
We'll figure it out.
Okay, much better. All right, guys, how are you doing? Good? Yeah. So let's talk about Brazilian music. That's the thing I know the most. I've been studying my whole life. It's so good to see Tim here. All Dan. It's great, folks. We were all together in the shore camp in New England, right? It was so nice. I had a great time there with you guys, learning, playing, teaching. It was so nice. All right, so I wrote some rhythms for you, some Brazilian rhythms. I think Isaac just sent the mail right before, and we're gonna be using that. So first of all, there are many rhythms here like that we're gonna learn. It's a lot of information, it's a lot of things to digest. Right, all said. So nice, guys. But I'm gonna teach you a little bit about some of these Brazilian rhythms, how to play them, and I'm gonna show you also some videos and some examples, and talk about a little bit about those rhythms. So we're gonna start with this first one, that is choro. So choro basically is the first genuine genre from Brazil. So that's the first one. Like when everybody says, okay, we have samba, we have baião, we have like foché, we have choro, but the first one is choro, and is the mixture with lundu, which is an African dance, and the European music. So it's a mixture of those two elements. Of course, there are other things that were happening, like when Brazil were colonized by the Portuguese, and brought the African slaves. But choro is the first. So let me play a little bit about choro, a little bit of choro for you. Oh, Isaac, can you unlock the share screen for me? I'd love to share some audio with the guys. So let me take my mandolin here. Okay.
How do I do that? Unlocking.
Click on.
Or maybe I'll share it.
No, you just click shares. There's a.
The share button.
Yeah, the share button, and then
Multiple participants
Yes.
share simultaneously.
Yes, I think that's true. Okay, fast. Okay, I'm gonna share with you guys some audios. So the first one is Vibrações, which is a beautiful choro. Okay, let me just. And that's the choro. I'm gonna show how to play too, but let's listen first. Let's go. Can you all hear that? Nice. That's a beautiful song, right? Like by Jacó do Bandolim. Vibrações is one of my favorites. And so the pattern we were listening, the genre is choro, right? We listen this tu cha 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 tu cha 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 tu cha 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 tu, right? Right? So this first genre, like that's how we play. Um, we were taking the pandeiro, right, which is one of the most important. It's the most important rhythm instrument. And he's gonna be playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's the base of choro, right? This 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, right? So I wrote that we're gonna be playing down, down, whoop, down, 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 whoop, down, 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 whoop, down, down, right? So I'm gonna do a C major chord. Down, down, whoop, down, 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 whoop, down, 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 whoop, down, 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 whoop. That's the basic pattern of choro, you know. That's the pattern you're gonna be doing when you're playing any traditional choro, like Vibrações I just showed you, or any other Jacó or Pixinguinha, which is another important composer also. So for choro, I wrote for you basically everything like 16 notes, right? Ta 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 ta. And it's really hard, you know, like to show how to groove on those styles, because when you read the chart, it's just like ta 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 ta, you know, like it's too robotic, you know, like and not this is not the way we play in Brazil. So it's really important for you like to be listening the recordings and playing together, you know. So for Vibrações we would play down down up down 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 up, right? So that's basically the choro pattern. And it's really important also to be aware with the other instruments. This pattern we are doing, I took the pandeiro pattern, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, and I adapted, you know, like for the mandolin, you know. And we also have the guitars playing, but the melody usually can be a mandolin also, or a flute, traditionally a flute. And we have the cavaquinho, which is like a small instrument, like a ukulele, but with a different tuning, and it's from Brazil. And the cavaquinho is gonna be doing this pattern also: down, down, whoop, down, 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 whoop, down, 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 whoop, down, 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 whoop. So 1 and 2 and down, down, whoop, down, 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 whoop, down, 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 whoop, down, 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 whoop. Right? That's the choro pattern. Now, let's move on. We have many patterns to learn today. So let's move on to the samba. This one, samba came after choro. Some people said like come before, but no, samba came before, after choro. A little bit, just a little bit. Choro started in the beginning of like 19th century, and samba too, but like 10 years of difference, around 10 years of difference. And samba is really hard to teach the way we play, because even us Brazilians, we don't know exactly how we play. You know, it's a mix of many variations. You know, that's what makes this, like the Brazilian music, so rich. You know, like in terms of rhythm, is the variations we do all the time. We never play like the same thing, the same clave. You know, all the time. We are always bringing variations and something and trying to add something fresh, you know, to the music. So the samba, we have the traditional clave, but we always create a lot of variations. So the traditional clave is the tambourine, which is an instrument like that, and you play with a stick. You know, I can show you. Let me put here. I can show you a photo. So this is my desktop. You can see. All right, I'm gonna put tambourine. Samba. So this is the instrument I'm talking about, you know. It's this little instrument that we play with a stick, can be like with a wood stick or a plastic stick. And that's the most important instrument in the samba that is gonna bring the rhythm. So I wrote for you that, and the samba is like tak 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 tak, right? And just remembering, the samba pattern is not like choro, that is just one bar, you know? The samba pattern is 2 bars. To complete the whole cycle is 2 bars. So, tac, 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 ta tac, 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 ta tac, 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 ta tac, 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 ta tac, 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 ta tac, 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 ta tac, 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 ta tac, tac, tac. And I decided to write this way, you know, with the ghost notes, because that's the way it brings the grooviness from the samba. If we just play like, it's gonna work, but when we bring those ghost notes, it's gonna be, and I didn't put the picking direction here because I'm playing everything downstrokes. I know it seems a little bit crazy, like for the American technique, like the mandolin technique, right? Usually it's more up and down, right, Isaac? Like usually, but in the Brazilian mandolin, we do this a lot, you know, like because so it's gonna be like down, 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 and then you the notes that I put in the head, you're gonna play with a little bit of accent. So you know. So let's play together. 1 and 2 and. Right? Everything down. And the other way to make it more like groovier is when I'm gonna do this chord here, C major, right? Root position. So I press the strings, and then when I'm doing the ghost notes, I just unpress the strings. But I don't do that. I just do like. You see the difference? I just release my fingers. So. You know? Let me play. 1 and 2 and. Play slower. 1 and 2 and. And okay, you could be asking yourself, okay, but you're doing everything down. But when it's fast, you know, when we have like a really fast samba, what do? You play like alternating? No. Usually we play less notes in the chord. So instead of playing like these 3 notes, like the C, G, and E, we're gonna be playing basically just G and E. So See my fingers? They're, you know, they're kicking. Taki 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 ta taki 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 ta taki 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 ta taki. And there is a really good app. I'm gonna show you. The name of the app is Ebatuki. Is this app right here? Right here. It's called Ebatuki. You see? Yeah. Type for me. Thank you. So this one, E and then Batuki, Batuque. Yes, Ebatuki. It's a paid app at App Store, and some of my friends created. They are from São Paulo, but they're one of the best musicians ever, and it's really nice because you can like just click here and choose any Brazilian rhythm you want. So you can practice with any Brazilian rhythm, and you can like change the things you want. So let me put samba here so we can hear a little bit of the clave of samba. So here we have samba 1. I'm gonna put the samba 1. I'm gonna hit play. And you can lower the instruments. Pandeiro on or off. See, so it's really good to understand what everything is doing. And I put it just the tambourine with the ganzá. Listen to this, the pattern. That's the rhythm. I translated to the mandolin, you know, to bring the richness. But if you hear even the ebatuki, which like should be something that is going to be like, you know, like in the click and everything perfect, you're gonna hear that he brings some variations also. See, and this is just a little. When we are playing, we bring a lot of variation. So I brought a little, just another in the PDF. I brought another variation for you. I wrote, you know, like just something simple so you can see how we variate, you know. So the second one is gonna be tac tac ta tac 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 ta tac 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 ta tac 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 ta tac 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 tac. Yes, oh, you have a tambourine. Okay, you have a tambourine. Awesome. That's awesome. Yes. So the samba groove, it's hard, you know, like to get like really fast how to play, because it has many, you know, many variations. So you have to hear a lot, hear and play a lot, you know, transcribe a lot of the rhythms and of sambas. I have a samba here I'm gonna play for you guys. It's by João Bosco. Okay. The name is called Incompatibilidade de Gênios.
Doutor, jogava o Flamengo e eu queria escutar. Chegou, mudou de estação, começou a cantar. Tem mais um cisco no olho, ali veja só pra sem dó. Falou que por ela eu podia cegar. Se eu dou um pulo, um pulinho, um instantinho no bar. Bastou durante 10 noites me faz jejuar. Levou as minhas cuecas pra um bruxo rezar. Cuo, meu café na calça pra me segurar.
Were you hitting on one on the second measure?
Tac, 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 tac. Yeah, I'm hitting on the one, yes. Tac, 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 tac. See, I'm gonna do the first one, the samba, the traditional, and then I'm gonna play the variation. So it's gonna be tac, 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 tac. You see, that's what it brings this freshness all the time when we're playing samba. And this song is incredible also to learn that. All right, so after samba, I'll type all the I'll put here for you guys. So the first song, okay, I'm gonna put choro. Let me just do this for you. Choro is this one. Boom. Samba is going to be this one I just played for you, okay? Okay, samba. Bang. Nice. Now we're gonna talk about partido alto. Partido alto is also is a genre, a different genre from Brazil, right? And it has this samba, you know, you can feel the samba also in the partido alto, but it's a little bit different, you know. The partido alto is gonna be 1, 2, 1, 2, pa, tum, 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 pa, tum, tum, pa, tum, 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 pa, tum, tum, pa, tum, 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 pa, tum, pa, tum, 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 pa, tum, pa, que tum, tum. And but if you put the samba clave, tac, 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 in the background, it's gonna work perfectly. So usually what people does in the arrangements is we have a samba tac 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 tac, and then they put partido alto pa tuk 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 pa tuk tuk pa tuk 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 pa. And it's important also to remember that there is like also an accent. This first note pa tuk 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 pa tuk tuk pa tuk 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 pa. Let me play a little bit of partido for you. And the way, but before, let me explain how I play the partido. The partido, I didn't put also the alternating because I play everything. Everything downstrokes. Pa, puk, 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 pa, puk, puk, pa, puk, 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 pa. And I like also to divide the way I'm picking. So I have always 3 notes, and let me do with the C. C major, right? Root position. I like to play like the bass, boom, ka, and then just the next 2 notes. So boom, pa, bass, 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 up, bass, bass, up, bass, 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 up, bass, bass, up. But if you wanna play just like the way it is written here, you can play everything together. And another way to play, so we have these 2 ways of playing, right? Where we divide the bass, bass up, bass, bass, bass up, bass, bass up, bass, bass, bass up, bass, bass up. Just in the when I'm doing the accent, I play the up notes. The second type, I also explained, is the whole everything together. Pa 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 pa. Right? And the last type is like when you bring, that's the base of Brazilian rhythm. I'm bringing more ghost notes, you know, to the groove. So when we're playing without a drummer or any percussionist, you know, it's gonna bring this groove more and more. So 1, 2, Do you hear the pac, pu, 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 pac, pu, 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 pac, pu, pu? Let me play some Partido Alto for you guys. This is Partido Alto. Ayrton Moreira, I'm gonna put in the chat for you.
As crianças coloridas que eu encontro pelo mundo são vestidas de carinho e um calor que vem do fundo. O que eu sinto por vocês dentro de mim é um amor.
But the sun is here.
O que eu sinto por vocês dentro de mim
Now.
As crianças coloridas que eu encontro pelo mundo são vestidas de carinho e um calor que vem do fundo.
Yes, this one it's really nice. I love this song a lot. Is Ayrton Moreira and Flora Purim. They are incredible musicians. Yes, yeah. You asked, right? If it was Joyce. Yeah, you're right, man. It looks, yeah, it's like Joyce, her voice. You're right. These guys are really into Brazilian music, you know. Yes, our team, Dan, these guys are the best. Okay. Now let's play. Now I'm gonna explain you how to play bossa. Okay, bossa nova came after samba and came after choro, came after baião. It's one of the latest Brazilian genres, you know, that we developed, and it's the mixture of samba and jazz, you know. So when samba meets jazz, we call it bossa nova, you know. So I put it here, the basic pattern, right? The measure 11, the first bossa nova in the PDF example I put it, is just like ta 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 pa 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 ta ta. So like 1, 2, pa 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 pa. That's the basic pattern of bossa nova. That's the like the clave of bossa nova. Right? Of course, I put some variations here. Pam, pa, pa, pam, pa, pa, pam, pa, pa, tam, ta, 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 ta. Because, like I said, we always play variation, creating variations, you know, to bring the freshness, to bring the grooveness. But bossa nova, one of the most important guys, like that I got inspired when I play bossa nova, is João Gilberto. You know, like he was one of the most important guys that play this rhythm in the guitar, in the nylon guitar. You know, and the way I play is like this traditional one can be like everything downstrokes also. Ta ta pa 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 ta ta ta, and the variation is like 1, 2, 1, 2. And then come back. You know, so when you go through these variations, you go back and forth, it's gonna be like richer, you know, like your accompaniment, the way you play. Right, guys. If you have any questions, you can put in the chat here. Okay, I'm doing a little bit like faster the explanation, so we can go through all of them. And since it's recording, you can go back anytime after, you know, and or you can email me or Isaac. We are here to help. Nice. Let me show you a little bit of bossa nova, guys. Hope you like it. This one, João Gilberto. So you're gonna see that he does a lot of variations, but when he enters in the bossa nova pattern, the clave, I'll tell you. Okay.
Vou te contar, os olhos já não podem ver coisas que só o coração pode entender. Fundamental é mesmo o amor, é impossível ser feliz sozinho. O resto é mar, é tudo que eu não sei contar. São coisas lindas que eu tenho pra te dar. Fundamental é mesmo o amor, é impossível ser feliz sozinho. Da primeira vez era a cidade, da segunda ao cais e a eternidade. Agora eu já sei da onda que se...
That's not the best like example to show you, because the drummer, he's killing in the bad way. He's playing so off the beat, man. You know, in this, I just realized it. but the basic idea is tack to tack to tack to tack to tack cha 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 cha. And this also is based on the samba. So if you play tack to tack tack ta 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 ta, from the samba pattern, tac 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 ta tac 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 tac, you know, the bossa nova goes really amazing on top of it, you know, you don't have any problem. Sorry guys, sorry about that. But yeah, so that's the bossa nova. It's one of my favorite genres, and I think it was one of the latest discoveries, you know, like the latest, like, of Brazil, for real, because after bossa nova we don't have any other genre, like amazing genre like we had, you know. Nowadays it's like much more pop and hip hop, which is not Brazilian, you know, which is good. I really love it, I enjoy it, but like it's not like Brazilian. The bossa nova was the last, so it's really like advanced in terms of harmony, in terms of like rhythm, you know, melodies. It's just beautiful. Okay, next one. So the next genre I'm gonna show you is from the northeastern of Brazil. You know, it's called Baião. Baião is a genre that is like really popular, really popular in the northeastern of Brazil. And the way I play is like everything also downstrokes. It's measure 16, right, from the PDF. So pa 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 boom boom 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 pa boom. That's the way we play Baião. So same thing. You can play like all the notes together. It's gonna work perfectly if you play this. But if you divide the bass and the high part, so bass, bass, high, bass, bass, high, bass, bass, high. And another variation I love to do in the Baião, it's a little bit more complicated because you're gonna bring the 16 notes, but it's like that's how I play. See, like it's really groovy, you know. So if you like, as we're going through all of these different like genres from Brazil, you're gonna realize that as much as you put ghost notes, you know, that you bring this the 16 notes, more groove you're gonna have, you know, more of this Brazilian vibe and feeling you're gonna play, you know, you're gonna show. So it's really important to bring that when we are like doing the harmony, you know, with other instruments. Like me and Isaac, if we were gonna record Baião just in duo, I probably would be doing this because we don't have a percussion. It's just mandolin duo. So like I'll be doing. But if we had like a big band, you know, like with many instruments, like percussions and everything, I would just do like bass, bass, high bass, bass, high bass, bass. Simple, you know. Of course, depends like with who you're playing, you know, for who, and depends of many stuff. Let me show a little bit of Baião, guys. Hope you like it. I love this guy. The most important guy, his name is Luiz Gonzaga. I'm gonna show you a song by him.
Mostrar pra vocês como se dança o baião. E quem quiser aprender, é favor prestar atenção. Morena, chegue pra cá, vem junto ao meu coração. Agora é só me seguir, pois eu vou dançar o baião. Que baião, pois que baião, pois que baião.
Yes. This is an incredible genre. I love this so much. It's amazing to dance, you know, and amazing to, you know, like to hear, to play. Everything is incredible. I'm just gonna show you. I forgot to show you like the partido alto. Sorry that I'm gonna come back a little, just to show in the app how it sounds, because I showed like in the music, right? But in the app, in the partido alto, let's put here. I was gonna. Pa pum 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 pa pum pum pa pum 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 pa pum pum pa pum 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 pa pum pum pa. And then you can play take this and play, you know. Samba, bossa nova, works, parte do alto. so rich and it's all linked in a way together with the samba. That's why samba is so important for Brazilian music. Okay, then after partido we played bossa. Let me put here bossa nova. Bossa nova 1, that's the basic pattern, I believe. Pa, 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 pa. Wow, this one is crazy. Wait. It's putting too much stuff. Wait. Pa, pa, pa. Pa, ta, 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 right? No? And just play and study. This is a really nice app. Okay, and then Baião. Let's see what he has for Baião here. Baião. Here. Let's listen to Baião. Boom, boom, pa, 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 boom, boom, pa. The same song. So nice. This is incredible. Okay, moving on now. Let's talk about afoxé. Afoxé is another rhythm that I really like it, and it's really nice because this one is in 4. I prefer to roll it in 4 because the whole pattern is like ta 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 boom boom pa pa boom boom pa 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 boom boom pa pa boom boom pa 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 boom boom pa pa boom boom pa 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 boom boom pa boom boom pa pa boom boom pa pa boom boom pa pa. Right? It's from Bahia. Bahia is also the northeastern from Brazil too, and that's the way I play. So C major, down down down. This one I divided. If you see there, I put it high 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 down down high high down down because the bass is gonna always be boom 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 boom. So 1 2 3 4 1 dum 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 dum. So 1 2 3 4. Boom 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 boom. Right? And this one, I'm gonna show you this video. This guy on the mandolin, it's really good. Like it's really nice. That I don't know if you know him. I don't know if you know him. Boom 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 boom. 10 years ago. Yes. You know this guy? 10 years ago, man. That's crazy. Go so fast. Okay, let me put here the. This one is just here. Afoxé, right? Afoxé. I love so much this rhythm. You know, it's so groovy, so bring this happiness, this good vibe. Let's see what they have in Ebatuque for Afoxé. They don't have Afoxé here. What? I think it's gonna be Ijexá. Let's see. Ijexá, that's another name. Ta 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 tum tum ta ta tum tum pa 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 pum pum pa pa pum pum pa 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 pum pum. And then you play together, right? Up, down, down, up, down, down, up, It's nice, Afoxé. It's incredible how many rhythms we have in Brazil. Like many times you play them, but you don't know what it is. This happens a lot, you know. Like it's just too many. Okay, now let's move on to the second page of our PDF. We're moving now to machixe. Machixe is it's a really antique. No, it's like machixe. Machixe is it's the base of choro. Machixe is not exactly 100% from Brazil. Let me just tune this A string. But it's the base of choro also, you know. And the way we play machixe, ta 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 ta, right? Ta 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 pu pu pa 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 tu ta 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 ta. You can feel the short a little bit, right? Of course, the way it's written is like ta 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 ta. You know, it's so we have to here to bring this groove, you know, like let me play some machixe for you guys. And I know this the Choro Camp guys know this one. Yes, that's machixe, guys. This recording is too fast, but the basic pattern is like tak chika tak 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 chika tak 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 chika tak tak tak. You know, it's more groovier. You know, like it's slower. So how do I play? This one is hard. It's a little bit harder because we have upstrokes. So this one I like to play down, up, down, taco, tu, ta, taco, 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 tu, ta, taco, 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 tu, ta, taco, 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 tu, ta, ta. Let me explain how I play this. So I'm gonna do the C again, C chord, right? So down, and then the X is like the ghost note. So down, up, down. So down, up, down, but with a ghost note. So down, down. So one more time slower. Down, up, down, 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 up, down. Down, up, down, 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 up, down, up. Down, up, down, 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 up, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, 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 up, down. É. Of course, if you want to do like the simple ways, like just play the notes, everything down strokes, but like just the notes without the ghost notes, you know, just like pa pa. It's gonna be right too. But I decided to roll this way because this was the way I teach it at the shore camp. So one and two and it's the same principle here, you know. We're gonna be letting the strings you don't need to take your hands, you know, like just, and you mute here. Look, the way I do is like pap 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 pap. See, me releasing the hands. Okay, this is machixe, guys. Let's see what they have for machixe here in the app. Machixe 1. You know, that's machixe. That's how we play machixe. Okay, moving on like to the next style, the next genre from Brazil. This one is also not Brazilian too, but those are styles we play a lot in Brazilian music. You know, if you're like a mandolin player and you are into the choro world, you know, into the Brazilian mandolin world, you're gonna be playing machixe, you're gonna be playing polka too, and polka is the next one we're gonna be checking out. So polka, how do we play polka in mandolin? But let me first show you like the rhythm. Let me put some recording for you guys. This one, it's the choro guys know also. It's Paciente by Pixinguinha. Okay, I'm gonna put more, but here the pandeiro, tuki tiki tuki, choro, tuki tiki tuki, is the same pattern of choro. Listen the pandeiro. Right? And have myself here playing the same song that this video I did like for the Shoro camp, me and playing with other teachers. Look, the mandolin now. See? Let's play polka now. I'm gonna teach you how do I play polka, and then I'm gonna put again the song so you can try to listen this rhythm inside the song. Okay, polka is gonna be 1 and 2 and tac 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 tac. And again, I wrote more complex, like in this PDF. I wrote like tac 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 with all the ghost notes. But if you want to do like the simple way, you don't do the ghost notes, but that's the way I play. Down, up, ghost. So, and then down, 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 ghost, down, ghost. One more time. Every time we're doing ghost notes in this genre, it's up, and it's ghost note. So. Let's play 1 and 2 and down, 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 up, down, up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up, down, up, down, 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 up, down. And remember all the Brazilian rhythms, like basic, most of them, like you're gonna play like staccato. We're not playing like. Everything is like really short. See? So how do I play this? Same thing. When you play with your pick, it's gonna sound. So you have to release your fingers here. So I'm doing this with my middle finger because I have the C string, but you don't have, so you don't need to worry about the C string. Yeah, actually Edward has 10 strings, right? Yes, man, 10-string team. That's the guy. That's the guy. Nice, guys. So here. Like my fingers dance here also. I'm not just playing the chord. See? Now let's hear this rhythm inside the recording I was showing you guys from Pixinguinha. Okay, let me just put the recording here. Okay. This is polka. It's really nice too. I don't know if we have polka here because this is not Brazilian, but no, we don't have polka in the ebatuque, but it's nice to know how to play this one too if you're like interested in Brazilian music and in the Brazilian mandolin world. Okay, so last we have this Brazilian rhythm, also from the northeastern of Brazil. The name is maracatu. This one is really incredible too. I love this rhythm. Also, there's a dance, they dance with this rhythm too. I'm gonna show a little bit of maracatu. Usually they play this like in big bands, like a lot of like people playing percussions. I'm gonna put a guy playing this rhythm just for a bit. Okay, at the end he he variated too much. Just kidding. But like the maracatu is pu tu ta tu ta tu ta ta tu ta tu ta tum tum pak tu ta tu ta tum tum pak pu pak pu pak pu pum pu pak pum pum pak pum pak pum pum pak pum pak pum pak tum pak pum pak pak pum pum tak tum pak pum pak pum. Usually I think maracatu it is like really close to Baião, like partido it is with samba, I think it's the same analogy. Because if we're playing tu pu pak pu pak pu pak pu pak pum pum pa tu pak pum pak tum pak pum pa. You see, I changed the Baião. Tum tum pak tum pum pa pum pum pa pum maracatu pa pum pum pak tum pak tu pum pum pat tum pak tu kum pat tum pak Baião pak tu pum pum pa pum pum pa pum pum. They they are really close, they are really good together, they work really well together. And the maracatu, I play everything down strokes. That's why I didn't put the picking. But I divide also from the bass and the high part, and I divided it there in the PDF for you too. And also I put these little accents right under the score. So pum pum pa 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 pum pum pa. Right? But of course, you can play everything. Everything downstrokes, everything at the same time. It is possible too. You can also do that. And I put some variations, with some ghost notes in the variation number 1, measured 26, right? I put it like play again. 1 2 1 2 no 1 2 3 4. I'm bringing the sound of the drums from maracatu. I'm gonna show you a video. A maracatu video also from people playing, like in an open space in a big band together. And of course, the last variation, the second one, I'm bringing the 16 notes again. So it's the same idea of the other rhythms. I'm putting the 16 notes. So this one is gonna be see, so it's down, 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 up. The ghost notes is gonna be up. So down, down, up. One, two, three, four. See, this one it's incredible. I love so much this genre. Let me put some maracatu for. Let me just show you this video. I show you a little bit from the drums. Maracatu. Okay. I'm gonna show you also another video. This one is like a Brazilian drummer, one of the best Brazilian drummers we have, teaching how to play maracatu. Let me just put someone playing maracatu now. So, okay. Yes, all the instruments.
Boost your revenue and
No, not Google. Okay. All the instruments.
Só mulheres.
This is really common in Brazilian like parties, like it's really incredible. You go to the, like to go to a park or something like that, and there are some people playing and dancing and singing songs, playing maracatu. It's just incredible. Let me put also this video for you, so you can.
There's a question in the chat box.
Oh.
Al said, any specific mandolin tunes using maracatu we would recognize, or where would we add it to the tune?
Yeah. There are some mandolin tunes using maracatu. Hamilton has some recordings I can send you guys. I don't remember the name right now, but I'll choose for you. I'll search for you. I think it's in the Trio album. I'm not mistaken. But there are many part, like it's really common to have baião with maracatu. It's not that common to have a whole song maracatu because it's more like of a traditional dance. But it's really common when you have like baião happening and maracatu enter in the middle, to bring something like a special part, and then boom, come back to the baião. So like we're here in the middle of the baião, right? Maracatu, baião. Baião, maracatu. They go like back and forth really smoothly and brings this special vibe, Yeah, it's really cool. All right, guys. So this was like all the things I wanted to show you. Like, of course, there are many other Brazilian rhythms. Like We have frevo. Frevo is incredible too. It's from the north of Brazil. Like we play. Let me show this really quick. I didn't write, but I think you're gonna like to hear this. It's Poc Frevo. This guy is my favorite like orchestra in Brazil. It's really, 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 really high level. Look. It's really fast. Everything's fast in Frevo. It's like our bebop. Yes, man. Frevo it's incredible. Let me show you for we can finish. I recorded in my album. I launched my album last year. It's called Bora Brasil, and I composed a frevo. It's called Frevaço. Let me share with you the audio. Okay, let me play now. Nice dance, you know. This is another type of Brazilian rhythm. It's called rastapé. They go really well together. We come back to the frevo. At the end, I'm gonna put the link. Nice going. All right, guys.
There's a couple questions in the
Sure.
chat box. One, Edward was asking, any tips for playing all the downstrokes? Like, does it just come from your wrist? And
Yes.
then also, are you muting with your right hand palm muting?
Yes. Yeah. Of course. So one thing that I see a lot in the mandolin technique, in the American mandolin technique, that is not gonna help you a lot to play the Brazilian rhythms, is that usually people play more with the whole hand, like and for the Brazilian music we use more here, you know. It's like just this part of the wrist, because it's like is physics, right? Is physics, right? If we're using this part of the arm to control the fast things, we have to do like a lot of strain, and it's not gonna be nice. So we just use the wrist here, which is much closer, and here the finger to check. Yeah. See? So the frevo. But everything happens because of this, because of the wrist. That's the secret of the Brazilian fast, like notes, like. I don't put my hand here like in this whole area. I just put here, in this part of the. I forgot the name. The tailpiece. I forgot the name in English. We call it cordal in Portuguese. But like I put it here, and then that's it. This whole part is like, and I put my middle finger. That's how I. That's how my technique works.
Okay, I have a question.
Sure.
For somebody who, well, maybe you can repeat the question, or maybe you guys can hear me. Okay, my question is, for somebody who doesn't play Brazilian music, or you like it, but you don't know any songs, what are a couple songs, or like the best, the first 5 songs or something, that you recommend for somebody to just get started?
Well, depends of the style you want to play. But if you want to enter in the mandolin road, of the Brazilian mandolin road, the best way to start is playing choro. That's 100%. This was my school. This was the way I learned all the genres, all the songs I know, all the things I know. So I would recommend you to start with choro, and like the basic choros. Like choro is not an easy genre to play and to start playing, but is one of the richest, because we have all the technique from the European music, all those little nuances, the technique, the little things, the way we interpret, the way, the dynamics and everything. And the fast notes, a lot of like, you're always playing the arpeggios, you're always like, you are always citing the harmony. The harmony is all here. So we were having arpeggios, harmony, right? Of course, the same scales, technique, how to interpret, like beautiful melodies. You have the repertoire of melodies. So I would say for you to learn, like naquela mesa. If you're like starting, I'm gonna write for you. Naquela mesa.
If you want to type some things in the chat box, and I'm gonna turn my audio back on and just say a couple things.
Okay.
Kind of at the end.
Sounds great.
But yeah. Okay, guys, I'm jumping back in here. We're in the same room, so I'd have my audio turned off. But thank you so much to Ian for sharing all of that awesome stuff. I'm going to be studying these rhythms. It's really awesome. And thank you to everybody who joined and participated. It means a lot to us. And wish us luck. We're going to the studio on Monday, and we'll keep you guys informed. If I haven't met you before or haven't interacted with you, I now have your email address. And also, I will send out, as soon as I close the meeting and the recording saves, I'll get that uploaded on the internet. It'll be a YouTube, like unlisted YouTube video, so you guys can. I'll have it up for a couple months, and feel free to, just keep working on this stuff. And let us know if you have any more questions. And again, and thank you for the kind comments. Yes, thank you guys so much. Okay, I'm going to let Ian... There, okay, he just shared some songs, some tunes. basically all Jacob do Bandolim tunes. So those look like good ones. Okay, guys.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much for everything. It was a big pleasure.
Yeah. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Good luck in the studio.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You guys are gonna be the first one to know when it's gonna go out the studio and everything, and we're gonna send you a demo. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay? Because you helped us. Thank you so much, guys.
See you guys. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye.